Hello, welcome to this taste challenge. I realized a little while ago that I needed to make up 4 days in February that are upcoming and 2 days in May. Now, if I give up whiskey, any liquor, not whiskey, brandy, rum for Lent, should be a good sacrifice. If I give that up for Lent, that'll be 46 days where I won't have to worry about making up anything because I won't be tasting it. I didn't say liqueurs. Now, liqueurs is a different class of product. I'll still do those on Fandango Friday, but or Thunder and Thursday if we have to do that. But liquor, that's something I do every day. I'm doing a taste challenge like 365 a year. But it's probably going to stop on Ash Wednesday and not resume till Easter Sunday. That's cool. It's if you didn't miss it, it wouldn't be a sacrifice, right? Children, they want to give up spinach for Lent, or I'll give up yard work. They don't want to do it. Good evening, says Craig Swenson. Manic Monday. Yeah, could do that. But anyway, enough of that. That's just scheduling issues. But once Easter Sunday comes, we'll be back churning them out. And people might say, don't you get tired of doing it? I don't really get tired of doing it, honestly. But here's Charcoal Perfected. This is J.W. Dant. The company started in 1836. True story. You can check the trademark data. U.S. Government Patent Office has it registered 1836. J.W. Dant was an immigrant from the United Kingdom. Came to America and started a bourbon company. But now there's Dant Scotch whiskey. There's J.W. Dant straight bourbon. There's J.W. Dant bottled and bond. There's J.W. Dant, I don't know, it could be rum. But their company was sold to Heaven Hill, all right? So it's bottled in Kentucky by Heaven Hill today. It doesn't even claim that it's a Kentucky whiskey. All it says is J.W. Dant Charcoal Perfected Old Style Blended Whiskey with natural flavors and caramel colors. Then they got the name again, J.W. Dant, twice. I don't know why they have it twice. At the Back Acre Distillery. Yeah, well, not no more. 2 metals, like barrel caps. Barrel heads. Bottled by the Dant Distillery Company, Bardstown, Kentucky. Blended whiskey, old style blended whiskey with natural flavors and caramel color. Look. I read somewhere that this used to be a straight whiskey and then it got converted to blended. I don't know. I've never seen the straight version. I saw this yesterday in big jug bottles at Dornack. So it's not sold in my parish. We don't have counties in Louisiana. We have parishes. But I can get this, all right? Actually, I bought this bottle in Mississippi. I didn't think I could get it here, but turns out, obviously, I can't. So it was like $6.99. Good evening to David Cassidy. Good evening, Ron. No Stout Sunday today. Well, we did Stout Sunday in the morning at 9:30 Central, 9:35 Central, and went very well. All the scores were in the 90s. Guinness Stout, Warlock Pumpkins Imperial Stout. I did the Coconut Cookie Revolution Stout, 8%. And John and Nearly did a Trillium Stout, which I'm not familiar with that one. And we all liked them. Hello from Derbyshire, England. Derbyshire, England. Follow your channel. Have you tried Tribute St. Austell Brewery's Pale Ale? It's fantastic. David Cassidy says, thumbs up, clinking the mugs. Well, I've never heard of that. If I see it, I'll try it. We don't get a lot of imports anymore because there's so many local craft beers chasing them off the shelves. So here's the competitor, Kessler, with its brick red and yellow. There's Julius Kessler, no label without his photo. introduced 1888. He was an immigrant from Hungary. And at that time, that meant he was an immigrant from the Austro-Hungarian Empire. He went out west like Colorado, Wyoming, Kansas, Colorado, Kansas. And he peddled whiskey, and then he got his own company started, Kessler. Sold out to Seagram's Distilling, who sold it to Beam Company, Beam-Suntory now in 1994. So it went from Kessler to Seagram's to Beam. 3 owners. Beam-Suntory, 4 owners. Kessler is a superb blend of choice American whiskeys, which is proud to have carried the slogan "smooth as silk" for over 50 years. Well, he wasn't alive then. Every label still bears a facsimile of his signature, which is your assurance of authenticity and quality in every bottle. 27.5% straight whiskeys, 2 years or more old. Oh boy, 2 whole years. Hey, don't think anything bad about that. I saw straight bourbon whiskey at Walmart on Thursday. Not straight bourbon whiskey, excuse me, called Borough Bros from the 5 boroughs. I think it was from the Bronx. But it ain't made in the Bronx. It said bottled in the Bronx. And then real small. This whiskey was distilled in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. I said, oh, from MGP. But it said this bourbon is aged at least 6 months. I said, 6 months? And I said, no wonder it's so light. It looked like very watered down tea. But Walmart had it on half price. It was like a $34 bottle for $17. I said, well, I'm not paying $17 for a 6-month-old bourbon. You know, that's like barely past grain neutral spirits, which is corn liquor. See these products here. And look, the Charcoal Perfected has no age statement. So we know the straight whiskey is at least 4 years old in it. But we don't know the percentage of grain spirits, grain neutral spirits, unaged grain spirits. We don't know. It doesn't say. It has to be at least 20. It can be no more than 80% though. 80% is the top limit. Because if it goes above 80, then it's called spirit whiskey, and it's not called spirit whiskey. But it's probably 80-20 with the straight whiskey aged 4 years. Sean says, hi, Jay. I didn't check your archives, but have you compared Wiser's versus Canadian? I've never been able. Let me rephrase that. I've never done Wiser's. I can get it. Not commonly, but I can get it. Both are distilled a couple of blocks from each other in Windsor, Ontario. Yeah. Canadian Club and Wiser's. I haven't done that. No. I've done Canadian Club and the Canadian Club 12-year, and those are great, especially the 12-year age, the special batch. I have been to Windsor, Ontario more than once, a good number of times. I even ate at a really good Chinese restaurant on that main street, that main boulevard. Yes. But I can't go to Canada right now because I haven't had the you know what. But now they're rising up. I saw that CNN, of all people, they were saying there's protests all across the country. I said, good, let it spread. Maybe it'll get out of control and they won't be able to stop those tyrants. All right. That's the only problem with being tyrannical. You may not get away with it. Look at the Star Wars series. That's what that was about, right? He's gonna rule with an iron fist. But there was a rebellion, see? An insurgency. And he rose up against that crazy guy. Young Skywalker. And now you will die. Saw that right at the movies over here in 1983 which is no longer open. They don't have any theaters in this town. The cinema closed down during the scamdemic. Okay. Oh, do I have a prediction here? No, I don't, because Kessler has been throwing me for a loop. I haven't been able to figure Kessler out. All I know is I get it confused with the other whiskeys. And secondly, it loses every time. I'll say, oh, this whiskey's bad. It must be the other one. And then I'll try it. And I'll say, oh, it's Kessler. J.K. Julius Kessler. I have that on the label. I'll say, well, that's not a good performance record for Kessler. It keeps getting beat. Not really my problem. I don't make the product. I'm just tasting it. It's only aged 2 years. You're not going to get a lot of action out of 2 years in the barrel. I like the Star Wars reference. Oh, thank you, Sean. Emperor Palpatine. What was his name? Emperor Trudeau or something? I don't remember. All right. That smelled like wood. That smelled like wood and caramel. Yeah. Charred oak and caramel. Okay. It's like bourbon, but not. Because the bourbon is like intense and this is not intense. You know why? Because it's watered down with the grain spirits. But if you took the grain spirits and you aged them for 2 years in charred oak, new charred oak, then it would be bourbon. But if you take them raw and you just blend it with straight bourbon, then they remain neutral spirits because they're not aged. They don't have any flavor or aroma because that's coming from the barrel. Or if you add barley whiskey, malt whiskey, barley malt whiskey, or wheat whiskey, or rye whiskey, see, that's going to add flavor. American blended, Scottish blended, Irish blended, and Canadian blended is all the same thing. Except for one big difference. The American blended whiskeys do not have to age the spirits for 3 years. They can put them in the bottle raw. In Canada, Ireland, Northern, or Republic, there's 2 Irelands, Well, there's 1 Ireland, but it's cut into 2 pieces. You know what I'm saying? Like China, 1 country, but cut into 2 governments. Or like Korea, or like Germany used to be. Remember, Germany used to be like that. But in those countries, it has to be aged 3 years, and here you don't have to age it. I'm talking about the grain spirits, the grain whiskey, as they call it in Europe, because it becomes whiskey after you age it 3 years. Oh, I think I'm getting more wood over here. Caramel color added. Is that unusual for blended whiskey? No, it's usual for blended whiskey. You look at all these Irish whiskeys and Scotch whiskeys and Canadian, say, look at that rich color. Yep. The magic of caramel coloring. Can they add flavoring to it? Oh, yes, they can. And yes, they do. Well, I know American does and Canadian does. I can't say for Ireland and Scotland about the flavoring, but in United States and Canada, oh yeah, they add flavoring to those blended whiskeys. Natural flavoring, can't add artificial flavor. And they can even add flavoring to bourbon if it's called bourbon whiskey with natural flavors. But you can't have flavored bourbon whiskey, but you have bourbon whiskey with natural flavors. Like the 10 High. I saw that just this week, last week, yesterday. I saw it yesterday. I saw it on the shelf. 10 High, bourbon with natural flavors. But you can't have flavored bourbon, but you can have bourbon with natural flavor. Oddly, I just picked up a little orange peel in this. You say, that's the natural flavor, dude. Maybe it is. Maybe they're adding dehydrated orange peels for all I know. Nut oil like pecan oil, walnut oil, corn, nectar from a honeysuckle. It's basic. Does it taste bad? No. Is it like off flavored or gross? Nasty? Nah. Is it kind of bland? Yeah, it's kind of bland. A lot of people like bland stuff though. So look at Dos Equis. That thing sells like crazy. And I did a taste challenge with Schlitz this afternoon, and Dos Equis got killed rated. That Dos Equis had no flavor compared to Schlitz. It was like nothingness. But look at all the people buying it. Now, is J.W. Dant a big seller? I don't guess it's a big seller. I'm talking about the perfected, charcoal perfected. How do they perfect it with charcoal? They drip it through a column of charcoal, packed together tight. What type of charcoal? They ain't going to tell you that. Now, at Jack Daniels, you use sugar maple charcoal. At Heaven Hill, I don't know what they use. And that takes out some of the impurities. Charcoal mellowing. Is this perfected? I don't know about perfected. I mean, if you read the bottle, it's like, and if you look at Total Wine and More, read about it, it's like the greatest thing. You just can't believe how good it is. And it's only $6.99. It's unbelievable. Kessler, same price, $7.99, $6.99, $12.99 for the bottle. Went up to $13.49, thanks to the U.S. government inflationary policy. That flavor there was a little whack. A little. You say that's not a description. I know it's a reaction, which is sort of a description in a way. All right, vanilla. Oak wood. Maybe some charcoal. Nut oil, like I said, pecan oil. Nectar, honey, or whatever. These are very close. The main thing these two taste like is just whiskey, like the U.S. government says on the Tax and Trade Bureau handbook, the Distilled Spirits Handbook. Whiskey must have the aroma and flavor generally associated with whiskey. In other words, if you taste it, it should taste like what most people say, whiskey. Just whiskey. Like if you say, what does this taste like? And somebody say, oh, whiskey. A lady told me yesterday, I was at somebody's house, and the lady said, I don't like whiskey, I like bourbon. So, well, bourbon is a type of whiskey. She didn't seem aware of that. I don't do like beer geeks and, lecture. Let me tell you, that is wrong. How could you say that? How dare you say you like whiskey? You don't like whiskey, but you like bourbon. Don't you know? No, I just said, well, bourbon is a type of whiskey. That's all I said, and I let it go. Now, she might have been thinking, oh, I didn't realize that. A lot of people don't. I hear people say that. I've heard people say that before. They like bourbon, but they don't like whiskey, or vice versa. And I've heard people say, I like Pilsners, but I don't like lagers. Well, a Pilsner is a type of lager. So if you like Pilsner, you do like lager, at least of the Pilsner style. And if you like bourbon, you do like whiskey of the bourbon style or category. Or it's a style of whiskey. I guess style would be the right terminology. Okay, these taste like standard whiskey. Nothing more, nothing less. Just whiskey. Good whiskey, I don't know about that. Maybe a better term would be tolerable. Once again, what are people doing with this whiskey? Serving it at a golf course for the Concrete Association annual banquet. Maybe at the end, the last hour, when they're having dancing, when they don't realize what they're getting, but not at the dinner. They're not going around with guys in an apron and a suit jacket pouring JW Dant Charcoal Perfected. People buy this stuff to take home and make cheap cocktails. And literally, some people put whiskey in milk. That's their cocktail. Whether it's 2% milk, the full fat milk, low fat milk, no fat milk, you say that's crazy. Nobody puts whiskey in milk. No, they actually do that. Some people actually do that. And then people with a sweet tooth, they put it in chocolate milk. Then they'll watch the Pro Bowl. That'll make you want to drink. Watch the Pro Bowl and drink it. Now, I mean, I've never put whiskey in milk, but somebody told me, my grandma does that. Okay. Since you mentioned Schlitz, which is an amazing beer, in my opinion, says Sean, did you know if Pabst is now brewing out of the California-based Molson brewery they purchased? Oh, the one from Miller, Molson Coors, it was a Miller brewery. It was the Miller brewery in Irwindale, California, Los Angeles County. Irwindale, actually, they sold it. I read a news article. They sold it to City Brewing last year. So why did they buy it? Well, actually, when they bought it, they said they were going to consider what they were going to do with it, which everybody thought meant reopen it and start brewing Pabst beer there. But they actually bought it so they could flip it. Buy it for one price and sell it for a higher price. And they sold it to City Brewing. Does that bother me? Doesn't bother me if people buy real estate and flip it. Care less. But that, I thought they were going to use it. But I guess they figure, but City Brewing does a lot of brewing for Pabst. So it's probably a deal. Well, if we sell it to you, then we can get a lot of beer from y'all, because Miller was aggravating them. Remember, they sued Molson Coors, said they were cheating them, but they settled out of court the day the jury was going to give the decision. They settled because they were worried. Both sides were worried. What if they decide against us? So they settled and made some kind of agreement. Whatever. Yeah, this tastes all right. If you like nuttiness, it's like really like if you gave that to somebody and you told them this is walnut oil. It's distilled walnut oil. It's an alcoholic drink. They might believe it. They really might believe it. They're so similar. This one has more of a grain spirits taste, meaning neutral taste, which might be a good thing in this case. Are they worth the price? Yeah, they're worth the price because they're cheap. The Kessler, I told you, this handle is 1,750 milliliters. It's like you bought a bottle of whiskey and you got an extra 1,000 milliliters thrown in, because the regular size bottle is 750. So it's like you bought one of these, but they threw in an extra liter, which is a liter is 1,000 milliliters. So when you buy these, you're buying a liter of whiskey and a regular size bottle. It's a big value. It's a great value. Assuming you like the product. And so $6.99 for a regular size bottle, $12.99, $13.99, at the most $14.99 for the jug. Yeah, I can't complain. Wouldn't give it as a wedding gift, but I'd bring it to a Mardi Gras party, because they're not going to be at a Mardi Gras party. They're not paying attention to the whiskey. They just trying to go crazy and get drunk, and they don't care what the product is. I was talking to a guy in the line. I was in a line at Walmart checkout about 5 years ago, and he was buying Caliber vodka. I said, Caliber, oh golly, because I bought the Caliber Canadian whiskey, which actually is not bad. And I asked the guy, I said, hey, is that Caliber any good? Vodka. He said, oh no, it's horrible, but we making Jello shots. It was New Year's Eve when I told him that. He was in the line New Year's Eve afternoon. I don't know how vodka could be terrible, because if you read about what vodka is, the only way it could be terrible is if it does have flavor or aroma. Read the government website, Tax and Trade Bureau distilled spirits handbook about vodka. But it couldn't have been too terrible. He was buying it to make Jello shots. These are the same kind of thing, just utility product. Yeah, well, that's a good word. Utility products. Is there a place for them? There's a place, like the Beatles said, there's a place. But I don't really want to be in that place. I mean, I buy them because they exist and we do the taste challenge and all, but I mean, every time I'm finishing off a bottle of American blended whiskey, I am not heartbroken. I'm actually glad because I'm getting them whittled down. I'm whittling them down so I can whittle them away. Now, the Kessler, yeah, it's going to take a while. But you see, I won't have to deal with them too much. I'll just have a few bottles. Kessler, Bay Street, Classic Club, when I buy that, which we know Sazerac makes it. The doggone Grand Legacy. So when I'm down to just having the jug bottles, I won't have to deal with blended whiskey too much. I don't hate dealing with it. It's not terrible, but I'd rather not deal with it. Now, what's going to happen when on Friday or Thursday when Kessler goes up against Seagram 7 Crown? Well, it's going to get killed. It'll never win. It'll never win. Believe me, Seagram 7 Crown, that's like a whiskey that's legitimate. Like it's like actually a good product. Like you don't have to say, well, it is cheap. So if you consider the price, you could make the argument. No, it's just like good. It's like literally good. Like I would buy it on purpose to just drink it if I drink whiskey as a drink, which I don't do. But I would buy it on purpose because it's that good. Okay, so I'm going to say this is the Kessler. But it's the other one. It's the Charcoal Perfected from J.W. Dance. Well, anyway, I didn't call a winner because I couldn't. They kind of tasted the same. So no winners, no losers here. I couldn't even tell them apart. So a 4-year age blended versus 2-year age, and I couldn't tell them apart. So that tells you something right there. So either about me or the product. The next one coming up is called, what is the next one coming up? Now that I mention it. Oh yeah, Clubhouse, the infamous Clubhouse. Now this is really the cheapest one they make. This thing is so cheap. It's $5.99 a liter now. $5.99 for a liter. I can get this at international market, even with inflation. Blended whiskey with natural flavors and caramel color. And they got Clubhouse Gin, Clubhouse Vodka, Clubhouse Brandy, Clubhouse anything. Rum. And look, it looks like some food service bottle, doesn't it? It looks like something that would be delivered to a school food service. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be shocked if it was a close call. Okay, and then we got Bay Street Spirits. Well, that's a pretty interesting product. That's a much older product than I thought. I thought Bay Street was some new thing for Total Wine. Wrong. Come to find out, that thing's been on the market for decades. I found on the liquorcollection.com, that guy was showing a bottle with the old tax stamp along the top. And that thing was from the 1970s. I said, huh? Bay Street, been around. Been around. That's a Florida whiskey. You say, Florida? They got whiskey from Florida? Yep, they do. There's a distillery right there in Auburndale, Florida, close to Orlando, shockingly. Built in 1943 by Seagrams. who sold it because they went out of business. And then the finale on Thursday is the real fiasco. Kessler getting killed by Seagram 7 Crown because it has no chance. There is no chance it can win. It will not happen. It cannot happen. And then we're going to pivot off to Canadian whiskey. I've got the 40 Creek Barrel Select. My prediction is it's going to beat almost every Canadian whiskey I own. I really believe it's going to beat almost every one I own. And I don't think I'll ever confuse it. The only ones that might give it trouble are the Crown Royal Black and the Crown Royal Bourbon Mash. I guess it probably won't. I don't guess it'll beat those, but it'll win all the rest. I'm pretty sure. Well, Canadian Club 12 year. I guess it'll lose. Okay, it'll lose to those three, but the rest it should win. All right, I'm drinking a pub beer from 10 Barrels Brewery, says Eddie Nicholson Jr. I've never had a single beer from that company because we don't get their products around here. All right, thanks everybody for watching, and have a good Sunday and have a great week at work. I'll be at work too. You know, I have a job.